Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, all you mentees? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And it is my absolute pleasure to get to talk about these particular new collected editions from Valiant and Alien books. We are looking at the Valiant Hero Universe Origins collected editions. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to the folks at Alien Books Valiant for sending us advanced copies and copies of the first 6 Hero Universe Origins collected editions. So, yes, we are going to be looking at Manowar, Bloodshot, Shadowman, Unity, Ray, and Faith. And this is the era of Valiant from the 2012. Not to be confused with the first era of Valiant from the 1990s, which I did love. I love that era, the Jim Shooter era. This is the different era of Valiant, and the one that a lot of my viewers loved so much that I remember my buddy Lloyd actually sent me a copy of about the only book I read from Valiant. This is the Bloodshot, which takes place after that series right there, because it's the one by Jeff Lemire, and it's excellent. Thank you, Lloyd, for sending this to me years ago. It took me a couple of years to read it, but I finally read it. But this is pretty much what they're collecting to get people caught up on this era of Valiant. And very much like the Marvel Epics or the DC's Finest, this is the classic collections from 2012. And I know it sounds weird saying that, but for the people that read it, these were some of the best comics coming out. I remember a lot of my viewers, a lot of my friends that were reading Valiant during this time were like, dude, how are you not reading it? Well, I'll tell a little bit more about that here in a second, but this is what the covers all look like. They are all trade paperback. And then the spines of the books right here. And worry not, there are going to be connecting spines. That Bloodshot, like his head is not there, because this is the first 6 volumes. This is the first wave of the Valiant Origins. The second wave will have Harbinger and also the Valiant, Ninjak, Archer and Armstrong, Eternal Warrior, and then Britannia. But these are the first 6 volumes that they are releasing. So much more along the lines of the Epic collections in a way. And I'll explain what that means here in a little bit. But I did want to show you the spines. And of course, the spines of the books and the way they will look once the first 12 volumes are out. And I really, really hope they continue with this, because these are some of the best reads I've had this year. And that is entirely my fault. I waited this long to read. Alright, let's look at the backs. Each one of these will tell you up at the top their Valiant Hero Origins, Manowar, Bloodshot, Shadowman, Unity, Ray, and Faith. A little bit about the stories. What's really interesting is that at the bottom it says containing the first appearance of so many of these characters. And the ISBN, the Valiant logo, the Alien Books logo. Each one of these retails for $24.99. And what is so mind-blowing about that is the slimmest one is 272 pages, but a lot of these are over 400 pages for $24.99. That is insane. So I'll actually do a little bit of a comparison here between the first book I'm going to be talking about and the 2 thickies from Marvel and DC. This one is Deadpool right here, and this one has 488 pages. That is JLA Book 1. That one has 616 pages. Manowar has 436 pages. Now, this one retails for $49.99. That one's $49.99. This one is $24.99. And now a really quick look at the spines so you can see the design that Valiant is going for here. Now, of course, people are thinking, wait a second, but I know characters like Deadpool. He's got a freaking movie that made hundreds of millions of dollars, and Superman is iconic, even Blue Lightning Superman. I will say, don't sleep on the Valiant universe like I did, because the stories in here are so iconic. But yes, you do have the Marvel collection here and the DC collection, and this is EXO. But I did want to talk about the spines as they're connected, to talk about the design. So they have the Valiant Hero Universe Origins up here at the top, the actual image with the red border around it. I like that. And then EXO Manowar, Bloodshot, so the title of the books, and then Alien books down here. I hope they continue this and give us like an EXO Manowar Volume 2, a Bloodshot Volume 2, because these are excellent and I want to keep reading them. But I quickly wanted to look at how these spines will connect. Now let's quickly talk about the aesthetics of the book and the build of it. It is a standard size trade paperback, and it is a soft cover, no dust jacket. The art is on board. It does have a flat finish to it. But what's really cool about each and every one of these is in here, they don't leave this just blank. They use the space up to give you like, look at that. It is a silver foil image, 2 different images at that, of the characters from the book, from some iconic images from the internal artwork. It's got like a silver foil finish to it, like the inks are done in silver. I found that to be really cool. The paper stock, surprisingly, is printed in this thick, glossy paper. And of course it is glued binding because we are talking about a trade paperback. So the spread pages, there's a little bit of gutter loss, and we'll look at some here in a little bit, but not much. I'm just surprised that they're using this thick, glossy paper and $24.99. That's crazy. All right, we are going to crack each and every one of these books open, one at a time, and I'm going to be talking about them in the way that they are lined up based on the spine. And I'll tell you my reading experience. Every single one of these is my first time reading these. I usually, whenever I do overviews of like Dark Horse or IDW or Fantagraphics, I choose like, oh, this is my seal of approval. I'm not kidding when I say each and every one of these is completely awesome in their own way. Some more than others, of course, but I was just blown away how amazing the stories are and how interconnected the universe is, but done in such a subtle way that I wasn't expecting. So maybe minor spoilers going in before I even open any of these up, but I have to talk about some of the characters that show up through here and to see how the universe is connected. But I am going to be talking about EXO, and then we'll move on to other stories. If you don't want to be spoiled on absolutely anything, you just love the creative teams, I will put timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around. Alright, let's go ahead and get it opened. Title page, Valiant Hero Universe Origins, EXO Manowar. The storylines are how it's laid out here, and then what each of the issues are part of that storyline. So you have By the Sword, a little bit of a spoiler there, Enter Ninjak, Planet Death, and Homecoming. Planet Death was insane. But this does collect EXO Manowar 1 through 18. And Homecoming right there. But Robert Venditti is the writer on every single one of these issues, and his writing style is amazing. If you're a fan of his Green Lantern, I hate to say this, but I think this is better. The book has 436 pages, and again, retails for $24.99. The people that are behind making this particular book. And then you have the full cover with the actual logo and the number right there. And of course, who are part of this. So this is Carrie Nord, who of course drew Conan the Barbarian. I think you have one in Eisner. Stefano Guardini and Moose Ballman. So I can't spend too much time on these, but I mean, this is what I meant by spread pages. So you do get a little bit of gutter loss, but again, it's because of that glued binding. 402 AD is where we start. Palencia, northern Italy. So this is all the story of Eric of Dacia. And it's part of the Visigoth people, who of course are in a huge battle against the Romans, and there he is right there, trying to defend his people. He's with his father. He ends up losing his father in this very first issue. Now, in a weird happenstance, during this particular year, again, 402 AD, at one of these Visigoth camps, they decide to go and invade the Roman Empire, the Roman army, with a handful of warriors. However, they find that there's a spaceship there. Now, they don't know what this is. They have no idea what a spaceship even is, but they still try and attack because they think, oh, the Romans have made a deal with these other countries. And sure enough, what ends up happening is they get kidnapped. Now, Eric has a wife, Deidre, and he has a life here. But they end up getting abducted by these alien race called the Vine. And the Vine ends up taking these people in as slaves, and they take off from Earth. They go to deep space. So him and his friends, the Visigoths, all are part of this. Now, one of the things that ends up happening that he witnesses is this merging of the Shanhara. The Shanhara is this relic right here that they have. And what that is, it gives people this armor. However, it rejects people all the time, so not everybody can wear the armor. And one of these alien beings right here ends up getting rejected, and the armor completely kills him. So he witnesses that happening, and he has no idea what that relic even is. But yes, that's what it is, and that is the Exo Manowar armor. Now, they're up there for a couple of years. Here's Deidre right there, having some lovely times, like flashbacks. So you get to see his life build out through a series of flashbacks. Now, this is how ruthless this alien race is, the Vine. We're going to find more about them later on, but one of the Visigoths ends up taking a fruit and taking a bite out of it because he's hungry, and, you know, he gets beat down. However, Eric, being the man that he is, steps in and is trying to stop the Vine from beating his friend to death. He gets his hand chopped off. So they are completely ruthless. So they're up there for a couple of years, and eventually they escape. Now, you don't see the Exo armor until the ending of issue 2. And that's when he ends up going to that relic, and it actually merges with him. The Shanhara merges with him, giving him the armor, giving him the power of Exo Manowar. And that is just issue 2. So the rest of the issues in here are him escaping, and this is what I meant by like minor spoilers, because I have to tell you the hook, and the hook is so good, it's what kept me reading. So all he's thinking is he wants to go back home. He wants to go back to Deidre. He wants to get revenge on the Roman Empire, because he still thinks they're a little bit behind us, even though he's been gone a couple of years. When he makes it back to Earth, when he escapes the Vine ship, it turns out that 1600 years have passed, or he's in modern time, and he has no idea why he's in modern time. All he knows is that he wants to kill the Roman pigs, and the Vine is still up there trying to get their armor back. So it is him coming to Earth and finding out that all the people, all his friends, everybody that he knew, including his wife, are long gone. And that to me is just so sad, and he wants to go back to them. So does it mean that they have time travel capabilities, or just that they were so far out into space? And how fast is his spaceship? I'll let you find out, because I think part of this is just finding out this man out of time storyline, and seeing if he can make it back to his family. And eventually we do get the first appearance, or this era's appearance, the Valiant, I think this is the Valiant Heroes 2 universe is what it's called, of this character named Ninjak. This is Colin King, who will get his own ongoing series, and is hired to take out Exo Manowar. And it's a badass fight. Now, eventually, like I mentioned, the Vine find out that he's on Earth, and they want their armor back. There's a couple of twists and turns with who comes after his armor, and what exactly ends up happening with these people that come after his armor. And there's a lot. That's just like the first 3 story arcs. When he comes back to Earth, this is really interesting. And I'm really surprised one of the books was not collected in here that I think would have made a really good, hey, this is where you go to next. And the last story arc sets up something called the Harbinger Wars. Even though it's not part of this collection. But the last storyline, he is reunited with somebody from his past. And how exactly? Well, I will let you find out about that. But what he ends up doing is trying to take over a particular country. And of course, the government's not going to put up with that. So that's where this leads into the next storyline. Not much as far as extras. So unlike Epic Collections, there's not like sketches or lots of variant covers. There's a couple of variant covers. And then, of course, the back of the book. Now, let's move on to Bloodshot. This is Bloodshot, I hope just volume 1, every mission is a suicide mission. So this is all written by Dwayne Zerzinski, who did Suicide Squad for DC, the New 52 era, but he also wrote Cable. And if I had to describe the character of Bloodshot, it would be like a mix between Cable, somebody from the future traveling back in time, but just a hard ass, kind of like the Terminator. So I guess Cable and the Terminator in a way, but he's not a time traveler. Manuel Garcia doing a lot of the artwork in here, Barry Kitson doing a lot of the artwork in here, and Arturo Lozzi. So this collects Bloodshot 1 through 13. This one has 320 pages. So this does collect the very first appearance of the 2012 version of Bloodshot. So in here you get to meet the character of Ray. This is Ray Garrison, who ends up being killed on a mission. Maybe he gets hurt, so much so that there is this Project Rising Spirit that decides to rebuild him and give him advanced nanotechnology to become Bloodshot. And when he becomes Bloodshot, this is kind of like the nanotechnology and the way it works. Like, he can't die. Like, he's being brought back. Like, he's very beginning here. We get a little bit of a flashback, and then we get this right here where he's going into a mission in Afghanistan. He gets blown up, and his body is dead. However, the nanotechnology inside of his system brings him back. It also gives him speed and strength and, of course, that healing power. So he makes for the perfect weapon. Now, it's not as easy as Bloodshot gets hired to go and do missions. He has a life. Ray has a life. But he also finds out, and the kick is, that he has false memory. That this project, the people behind this project, have been lying to him. And I don't want to say what the twist is, because I want people to find out for themselves what exactly they've been lying about. And once he finds out, he decides to go rogue. So their biggest weapon has now turned on them, and he's out on the loose. And he wants to free other people like him. So he is going to have a supporting cast, mainly of two ladies, Pulse and Karen. That's her name. And both of them will travel with him to try to go and free other people that were part of maybe these particular experiments. And as I mentioned, he does have a life. He has a kid and a wife. And can he make it back to them? This book right here does not shy away from violence, by the way. And I dig that about this. It's so different than XO Manowar. Like I said, this is the exact way that I've read these right here. I didn't jump around. I went, okay, well, let's read them in the suggested order. And I found the break from XO Manowar to be amazing because it's a different type of story. So this one shows more violence. This is over-the-top violence at times. Because when you have a guy that can come back from the dead, you know, just let your imagination carry you away. And then when you find out some of the other people that were part of Project Rising Spirits, well, you can find out what their powers are and how different they are than Ray. And it will take them all over the world. Now, as far as variants, there are some variants back here. This one has a little more extras than the XO Manowar. So you do have second printings and then variant covers back here. And that is Bloodshot. Shadowman. This is what I think the horror side of the Valiant universe. And this one, for the majority, written by Justin Jordan, drawn by Patrick Searcher. I just talked about Patrick Searcher a lot in my New Warriors Omnibus Volume 3. He also did the Cable and Deadpool series. And it also has Jim Zub coming in to do a couple fill-in issues. And then Peter Milligan comes in, who's no stranger to the dark side of the comics universe. Again, you have the full page. And I keep forgetting to show these with the silver foil inks. So cool. And the logo and the issue number. So you're never lost as to where you're supposed to be or where you are. Now, Patrick Searcher eventually leaves the book, and then Lee Garbett shows up. This collects Shadowman 0 through 16 and Shadowman 13X. This one has 424 pages. And again, all of these retailing for $24.99. So Shadowman is the story of this guy named Jack. And Jack lives in New Orleans. What is his last? Boniface. He finds out that, or you actually find out as the reader, at the very beginning, you find out that Jack's parents were fighting this master, and his name is Master Dark. He's this evil character, and he's trying to bring all hell loose on Earth. This is all taking place in New Orleans, and Jack's father is the current Shadowman and ends up getting killed by Master Dark, leaving behind this necklace to keep his unborn child safe. But then we fast forward to present day, where we see Jack wearing the necklace, and horrible things are happening throughout the city. So pretty much what's happening here is that Jack finds out that his parents weren't as good a parents as they used to be. He finds out that his mother lied to him. He did a little bit of research and finds out that his father was put in jail, put in prison for theft, arson, manslaughter. So he's like, man, screw this legacy. He wasn't a good man. So he throws the necklace that his father gave him, or his father gave to his mother to keep his unborn child safe, away. And that's when all hell breaks loose in New Orleans. And you see more of these demons. So that necklace was supposed to be protecting him. However, it unleashes a bunch of demons to come and attack him. And of course, Shadowman comes out. So he is the latest incarnation of Shadowman. And he does have his own supporting cast. I'll say that I'm surprised that how some of them don't end up making it, because some of my favorite ones are... how do I put this? Don't get attached to too many characters. Now, I said that this shows the horror side of things. So this is a lot different than Bloodshot. It's definitely a lot different than Exo Manowar, showing the supernatural side of the Valiant universe. I haven't talked about how this universe is interconnected. Besides the Ninjak character showing up in Exo Manowar. What they do beautifully throughout these pages, in every single one of these books, is give you a subtle hint as to other characters that are existing in this universe, and when you might be seeing them, because during a particular time of this character, there's something else that is going on in another part of the world, and you don't read about that until another book. And I thought, oh, that is really cool. Now, Justin Jordan ends up finishing out his run and the whole Master Dark storyline, and then Peter Milligan comes in with his own storyline, bringing in his new cast of characters too. And all the way in the back, we do have a couple of variant covers back here, and again, the silver inking right there. But this one is Shadowman. Valiant Hero Universe Origins Unity. This one I find interesting to be put right here, to be read next, because I feel like I needed to take a little break from Exo and read the other stories to build up these characters, because there's some characters that show up in here that I was like, oh, maybe I should have read a little bit more about them. Now, a little bit of history. Oh, there's Ninjak right there, and Exo, and a couple of people we're going to meet here in a second. Unity was the first crossover from the original Valiant series in the 1990s. So I thought that's what this was going to be, because this collects Unity 1 through 7 and Exo Manowar 19 through 22. This is the slimmest one, coming in at 220 or 272 pages. But it's not a crossover. It is actually the beginning of an ongoing series, or I guess a mini series. I'm not sure if this continues or not. But it's also a continuation of the Exo Manowar storyline. And it's intertwined in here perfectly. So I guess it is a crossover with a new series. But this is all the story of Toyo Harada, who in this Valiant universe is kind of like a really beloved CEO of just all these major corporations. And he's CEO of the Harbinger Foundation, which comes into play later on a little bit, I assume, in the Harbinger story, which I haven't read yet. But I did read Faith, and I'll explain how that's connected here. So Exo Manowar, remember when I said at the last part of his trade paperback, he had claimed a particular country his because he feels like it belongs to his people and him. And of course, the government doesn't like this. So what ends up happening here is Toyo Harada ends up enlisting the help of other warriors to become part of this unity, right? So he gets the help of Galad, the Eternal Warrior, and Ninjak, does show up through here, becoming part of the team, and this young lady named Livewire. Now, this is the big fight between these characters and Exo Manowar, but eventually, of course, based on the cover, and you probably guess, I mean, you know, you have a good guy that has, you know, a warrior at heart, Eric of Dacia. How is he just going to keep attacking these people when he comes to the realization that, wait a minute, maybe these people aren't bad, and ends up being part of the team. Here you find out more about Eric. So I'm curious if there's an Exo Manowar Volume 2, if these particular stories are going to be collected in there, because I feel like they're so important and so crucial to his background, because there are revelations through here about Eric and his past, and his connection to one of these characters here, and just how deep those connections are. This one has just a couple of variant covers. Not a lot, and then your your silver art right there. But that is Unity. Valiant Hero Universe Origins Rai. So this is the very first Rai, which was an original creation of the 90s Valiant Comics. And now this is this incarnation, the 2012 incarnation of Rai. And this here collects Rai 1 through 12, Valiant 4001 AD Free Comic Book Day 2016 special, and 4001 AD 1 through 4. Most of this written by Matt. Actually, no, all of this is written by Matt Kent, drawn by Clayton Crane and David Mack for the 4001. Clayton Crane, oh my gosh, if you loved his Carnage, if you loved his X-Force, I always wondered what happened to that guy. I was like, oh man, that guy was blowing up. Nope, this is where he came. He came over to Valiant. So awesome. Now, I said normally I give the seal of approval to a book. I guess if I had to for this batch of books, I was blown away by Rai. I have never read this, and it was amazing. I didn't know what to expect. This gets my seal of approval. If you haven't read this, if you want to try out what the Valiant universe is like, go and check this out, because, oh my gosh, it is so awesome. This one has 392 pages, and just like the rest of the collections, $24.99. What makes this one stand out is it takes place in the future, way in the future, 4001 as a matter of fact. So how is this connected to Exo Manowar and Shadowman and Bloodshot? It's actually connected, and I love the way it's connected. All right, so this is the future, and in the future, Japan is no longer part of Earth. As a matter of fact, New Japan is set up like almost like the JLA satellite era of the Justice League. It's a space station now. And the Protector that was made by Father, and I'll explain what Father is here in a second. By the way, in the 90s, it was Mother that created Rai. Made Rai the Protector of New Japan. And I love the fact that New Japan is also kind of shaped like a flower, and then there's different like layers to this particular country. Love all the designs and everything. This society is all policed by these PTs. And there is a rebellion called the Raddies who are trying to liberate the PTs. It stands for, is it Psionic Minds? Positronic Minds. And this rebellion is trying to liberate them, but unfortunately most of them end up dying when they're trying to get liberated. Now, this is really interesting because most of the PTs are recognizable because they have a blue circle on their forehead. And they are built and made to look like most people, most humans. And when you turn 16 is when you end up getting a PT. It's like your, I don't know, like Siri or I guess Alexa. Is that still a thing? I don't know. But like a being to just be with you and keep you company. Now, Father is the AI system that has created all of this. And including Rai. So Father's literally the father of Rai. Now, this isn't the first Rai. Rai's been around for a long time. There's been many Rais. But this is the 10th incarnation of Rai. And I will say he is reminded of that a lot. And the story, even though it's about Rai, is a lot about Lula. And what she's trying to do is meet Rai. That is her hero. And you see everything, this particular world, and you get to find out about this world through her eyes. And, oh, man, it is so awesome. You know, when Rai is sent on a mission, just how badass of a killer he is and how he executes his foes. And just like the other stories, there is conflict because there are lies that are being covered up. But why exactly are there lies in this country that is so far disconnected from the rest of the world? And if this is all taking place in the 44th century and there hasn't been a murder, why has there been a murder now? And there hasn't been one in hundreds of years. Well, now it's up to Rai to find out what exactly is going on. Matt Kent tells an amazing story, one that I haven't seen him write. You know, I've seen him do Spy, I've seen him do Supernatural, but I wasn't expecting this to be, to fall in love with this. This was awesome, and it is the perfect team. It is the perfect team. Now, does Rai make it out of Japan? Does he make it to Earth? And what kind of memories does he have? I will let you, this is some of the David Mack stuff in here. I will let you find that out for yourself. The 4001 AD miniseries, that is how some of the stories is going to, like, I assume, because I haven't read those yet, are going to be connected to the Valiant universe, the rest of the Valiant universe, and what role some of those characters will play in it. And this is, I think, just one? Nope, there's a couple. Just a couple of variant covers right here. Oh my gosh, this was phenomenal. Valiant Hero Universe Origins Faith. Now, this is the last book of the first 6 that has come out. This collects Faith 1 through 4. That's her mini-series. And then Faith Volume 2, 1 through 8. Harbinger, Faith 0. And The Adventures of Archer and Armstrong number 5. This book has 360 pages. This series is written by Jody Hauser. Joshua Desart is doing the Harbinger Faith issue number 0. But most of this is all done by Jody Hauser, and she's joined by Pere Perez and Francis Portela as most of the artwork. There's also a Louise Simonson story in here. All right, Faith. What is Faith about? This is a character that I remember. There was a huge amount of people that like this, and I never understood exactly like the beauty of the Valiant universe until now. And when I said that each and every one of these books is great in their own way, they're all so different, even though some of them are about superheroes. They are. This one I found to be more like a manga, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. So it is the character of Faith, and how she was part of this Harbinger Rebels group. Like I said, the Harbingers isn't out yet, so I don't know how exactly things happened. But she does mention it through here, that she did have, like, a relationship with one of them. And is it the Rebellion? No, it's the Resistance, I think. It's the Resistance. So there's a little bit of flashback as to who she is. So her name is Faith. She goes by the superhero name Sefer. And her daily job at this, I don't know what to call it, like a tabloid type of, like, gossipy TMZ maybe type of news. She wants to be a reporter. Her name there is Summer, so she wears a wig. Now, the story of Faith is really tragic. Like, she lost her parents in a car crash. She is also a Psyot. And a Psyot in this universe, in the Valiant universe, is like the mutants. They have genes in them that are kicked on, and they have superpowers. So she ended up being part of the Harbinger project. Like I said, there's flashbacks here, and you can assume that she was part of this resistance because something happened, and she had a relationship with one of them, and then she ended up leaving the team. And she fights crime. That's what she does. Now, what I liked about this character was that she is a geek. She's into Star Wars. She's into reading comics. She's into anything sci-fi. Most of the time, when characters are written like that, and it pisses me off to no end, they are either the blunt of the joke, like that they are the people that are funny and like, oh, so nerdy and geeky, and everybody makes fun of them. There's a entire franchise built on the idea of making fun of geeks. I don't know how it went on for so many seasons, but anyway, I'm not here to talk about that TV show. I'm here to talk about Faith. What I liked and respected about this is that she is respected. Like, everybody takes her seriously. She's full of life. She is a geek, but that's not who makes her up, right? Like, you always see, like, techie geeks or nerdy geeks giving pop culture references, and everybody's like, what a freaking nerd Randall is. And she's plus size, which also doesn't, like sometimes when you see things like that, it becomes a little preachy about the size that she is, how proud she is of her. No, none of that. As a matter of fact, I think in the entire volume, nobody really mentions it. Just like nobody really mentions how geeky she is. She gets the respect because of her character. It's like she's being judged by who she is inside, and I think that's wonderful. I thought that was really interesting, and I fell in love with her character because she always sees the light side of things. She always sees the positive in people, even though, oh man, one of my favorite moments here? Yeah, she is stopping these gangs that are trying to steal dogs, right? And they have guns. So what you see is her external voice and her internal voice. Like, you know, you have her thoughts. And her thoughts are like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I have limited powers. I can't stop bullets. What am I doing here? And then she sounds tough because of the dialogue that she's giving. And I thought, man, that's really cool. I like that. Like, she is such an interesting character. There are ties to the Harbinger series because her ex-boyfriend, because they broke up, is now part of this reality TV show that she has to cover from her daily job at, pretending to be Summer. She does start a little bit of a relationship with the character of Archer, and it crosses over into their Archer and Armstrong series. Again, giving you the subtle, interconnected universe. She does have her own supporting cast through here, but she herself really makes this book worth reading. I had a lot of fun with this book, and it's so different than all the other books. You know, you have the broodiness of Bloodshot, you have the badassness of, like, the warrior that is Exo Manowar, Rai, the futuristic perfect soldier made by an AI system. You have the team of Unity, and you have the dark side of the Valiant universe with, yeah, this guy right here, with Shadowman. And then you have the light-hearted side, the full of life side, the finding good in everyone side with Faith. This one is $24.99, and it has 360 pages. And that, my gosh, I had a blast with every single one of these. I cannot wait for the next batch. As they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below if you've ever read Valiant, or if you've been waiting for something like this, if you hope one day they'll collect these in a deluxe hardcover format, even with the matching spines, or the connecting spines rather, or if you want them in a big, thick omnibus format. If you have read this era, what was the best comic according to you? What was the best series or the best creative team? There were a lot of surprises here, and oh my gosh, I can't believe I waited this long to read it. I mean, what is that, 12, 13 years? 12 years, something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.